It is an absolute deluge here. I don't know why they've stopped it, but there have been a lot of big names gone down.
But some of them are going to get back in.
That's exactly, you preempted me perfectly there, Julian, wagging your finger at me as you do. It was Hayden. Hayden walking back up the hill. He won't be happy with that.
But he'll get back in the restart.
Well, yeah, depending on exactly where he fell off and how far back they take it. But there are some people, like Chris Walker, for instance, that won't get back in because he's too far out of it. Neil Hodgson then rolls into Colin Wright, the team manager. Big discussions now. This will be a two-part aggregate race. They will take aggregate times from both parts of the race. We're only waiting now for officialdom to give us how far back they calculate the race.
You get to go back out again.
I've no idea. They're just waiting to find out now. I mean, obviously, if an aggregate times, then there's not a lot of point really. I didn't make a lap. So.
What did happen to you?
I've no idea. I mean, I just tipped into the corner and it felt like I'd lost the front. But when I got up, I got oil on my boot. So and then the bike stopped just further around the course. So we don't know whether I got an oil leak or the engine blew up or what. So I'm not sure.
Obviously, absolutely atrocious conditions to be racing out there.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't so bad when I was out there. I didn't last very long, but no, I mean, it's pretty grim now. The boys, there's a lot of them falling off, a lot of them made mistakes. That's the reason they've stopped the race. You know, I think it was a good decision, whoever idea it was.
There were some who argued it shouldn't have been stopped, but they were in the minority. The rules had been applied accurately. The man in the hot seat was race director Stuart Higgs. He shared Claire's umbrella to explain.
What's happened, obviously the initial race was declared wet, and under normal rain, hopefully we hope to have continued the race with its normal progression, but the rain obviously increased, and we had the problem at 2 or 3 locations, most notably over my right shoulder there, down at the bottom of Paddock Hill there. The surface water is quite bad, and we risked people aquaplaning, so it was stopped on the grounds of safety, which is quite unusual having a wet race stop for rain, but I didn't have much choice. The delay is going to continue for a short while whilst we get the circuit swept and brushed, and hopefully Mother Nature will intervene and the rain will cease and we can go racing again. But obviously it's just not good for us, the teams, riders and the spectators, so a difficult day for all of us, but hopefully we'll get through the programme.
Aggregate times?
Yes, 2-part race. Part 1 was over 7 laps, so part 2 over 21 laps, and the combination of times will be the final race result.
What tyres were you guys on out there?
Cut slicks. A bit of a gamble, but I think everybody made the same gamble, but fortunately he stayed on, and we put wets in now, obviously.
I'll tell you what, Neil did well to hang on to that. He did a bit of grass tracking and we thought he was a goner at one point.
There was a lot of hearts in a lot of mouths at that point.
I didn't do anything wrong. I just turned in with a closed throttle and it came round and it flicked me straight. And my biggest mistake was when I was on the grass, I went down to first gear and the engine braking just locked the rear all the way along, and then I was out of control really all the way. And the only time I got control was when I was back on the tarmac, so very, very lucky indeed.
James, a very disgruntled face in front of us, an entanglement with Shaky Byrne out there.
Yeah, that's right. You know, unfortunately I was on slick rear into front, so there wasn't much I could do. It was a question of just trying to keep it upright, and I thought that obviously it was going to be stopped, so just keep it upright until then. And you know, I mean, Shaky, fair enough, we're racing out there, but he's sort of come past, and I can't change what I'm doing because, you know, I'm stuck on slicks, and just moved across, just hooked my handlebar and sent me down and damaged the ligaments in my knee. So yeah, I was pretty annoyed.
Well, we see you've got your leg up there, and what is the damage?
Well, I think Dad said it strained the lateral side ligament, so we've taped it all up and bandaged it, and it's got duct tape running along the side, trying to give it some strength. So, you know, I mean, we're racing bikes, so these things happen, but it's just a bit annoying when, you know, it was obvious that race was going to be stopped, so it was a bit of a pointless accident. But
are we going to see you in the next race lineup?
Yeah, definitely. Onto a brighter face, you know. We're going to, you know, the Red Bull team's worked hard. We were unlucky in the first bit. Put on the wets. The wet weather's here. Let's go and race in the wet.
If only he knew then what was to come. The excellent and dedicated race marshals battle to get the track ready for the restart. This is the order they'll line up in. Despite the race being stopped on lap 9, they've taken the order from lap 7, so this is the lineup. Sean Emmett, Michael Rudder, James Hayden and John Reynolds will start on row 1. Hodgson, Jeffries, Mackenzie and Shaky Byrne will start on row 2. The excellent privateer on the D&B Honda, Dean Ellison, will start in 9th place with Tom Kipp, Anthony Gober up to 11th and Gordon Blackley on 12. And on row 4, Wood, Marks, Young and Williamson. Back to row 5, David Hill, the privateer leader, starts with Carl Rennie, Paul Free and Lee Humphries. And on row 6, Nickel Robb, Paul Jones, Steve Plater and Carl Harris, 1 lap down, but they can go in the restart if they want. So with the track prepared perfectly for Steve Redgrave, the Superbikes come to the line and the drama started on the very first lap. Be prepared. No break in the clouds. Brands Hatch shivered as part 2 of race 1 lined up. Neil Hodgson then. Damage limitation was discussed before. Wet tyres now because this track is absolutely soaked, unlike part 1 of course. Waiting to come under starters orders, 21 laps and it goes green. There's Sean Emmett sideways on, but look at Hodgson blasting through already. Michael Rutter's on bike 31 to level 3. Bike, yes, it goes through. The Yamaha has gone to the front. Hodgson round the outside. Neil Hodgson there doing absolutely his damnedest to make sure he's going to get 25 points out of this. Michael Rutter on 31 goes back to second place. 5, Hayden comes through. Hayden looked a way through there at Druid's corner. Almost pushed Rutter out. Rutter right round the outside of Hodgson. Down towards Graham Hill. Bend now side by side. Oh, dear me.
Rutter's got the tight line. Rutter's inside him.
Yes, indeed.
And past him.
Out to the curb they go, and Hayden gets great drive and goes underneath Hodgson as well. Hodgson, look at Gobert on bike 95. He's there in 5th place on the Virgin Mobile Yamaha. Well, Rob Backle, they will have a fit.
That's from the 4th row of the restart.
Yeah, not bad. He's got a lot to do in aggregate time, though. It's all about aggregate now. That's the big problem. And look at Mackenzie. Mackenzie team riding there as well with Neil Hodgson.
It's like Speedway.
Well, great stuff as well. Yes, we have a Speedway world champion in Mark And now we look at Michael Rutter up towards Paddock Hill Bend, and Hayden is after him. Hayden is there.
Well, it's the bookies' favourite out in front. We're going to get into time differential soon.
Is he the bookies' favourite? I think joint favourite, maybe, with Anthony Gobert, judging by that World Superbike result earlier on in the year.
Rutter and Hayden were about 0.5 of a second apart, second and third after the first part of this race.
So, lap 2 of the 21 restart. At least the track's wet all over. They've managed to clear the puddles. It's not raining right now, but the... Oh! Dear me, he'll never have children if he does too much of that.
He's got no knee ligaments already. Dear me. And in that first part, don't forget, Rutter beat Hayden, so James has to be in front of Rutter by around half a second to win this race on aggregate time.
Dear me, I'm still recovering from James. James Hayden, the high side, is what he was known as now.
He hasn't recovered yet.
Michael Rutter then, through Clearways, onto the Brabham Straight. And, yes, he says, well, that looked to me like he was fairly happy out there. So Hayden at Paddock Hill Bend, you interpret it your way, Jules, I'll do it in mine. We never, ever agree.
Not in the least. I want to see a picture of Ray, the team manager.
Yeah, well, we're on a wide angle. Anyway, up into Druids, through the right-hander. Sorry, Ray, I take it back, but your man's winning. Through the right-hander down. Well, I mean, since Knock Hill, remember, Michael Rutter and Paul Young managed to get on the podium. This man, though, Neil Hodgson, will be looking to get as many points as he can because Chris Walker isn't in the restart.
Gobert
closing.
Gobert on
the Virgin Mobile Yamaha right there with Hodgson. Of course, it doesn't count as far as the championship's concerned. And what it's about is, here we go, aggregate. Rutter leads Hayden, Emmett, Reynolds. Hodgson is 5th on corrected time and Mackenzie's 6th. Keep an eye on the corrected time. That's what it's all about.
But it doesn't matter if Gobert goes in front of Hodgson.
No.
Not until he gets a good distance ahead of him.
Once he starts taking points away from Hodgson, though, Chris Walker will be cheering him on.
Absolutely. Walker, of course, not in the restart. 0 points
and of course,
for the championship leader.
Very worth mentioning, Julian, is the fact that Gobert and Hodgson hate each other. Big time.
What a good point.
Like, not a little bit. I mean, absolutely with a passion.
And there is no... Yes.
Neil Hodgson is a little bit more diplomatic about it in public than maybe Goey is, but the Go Show will be quite happy to have the man in front of him that he is.
Well, and he goes through, through, does he?
He does too. Well,
that's a good bit of riding.
Oh, Goey shows him sideways on, and he's a big lad. So 95, Anthony Gobert all taped up to keep his nose... to keep the heat coming out of his nose and his mouth down through the exit of his helmet, through the bottom of his helmet, otherwise it creates all sorts of mist on the visor.
DJ very, very close to Hodgson on corrected time. Check the caption.
David Jeffries in 6th place now, so those are corrected time. Hodgson about to lose another place. John Reynolds showing us just how flooded it is out there. John Reynolds about to make a pass, not up into Paddock Hill Bend just yet, but he's on the back of an INS Ducati.
And John 3rd in the championship, don't forget.
Now then, this is Hodgson that he's right with here, so he's right on top of Hodgson now. Up in
here we go.
Oh, that would be nice. So JR goes up under Neil Hodgson. Hodgson losing places. Really, it's a disastrous situation for Hodgson. He's got to try and be conservative. He cannot afford to be on the floor. He's got his teammate, thankfully, Neil Mackenzie, riding brilliantly here at Brands in the wet. Remember, at Alton Park, he was the fastest man in the wet in one of the qualifying sessions, I remember. So Neil Mackenzie, despite the fact he's not really gone on so well with the Ducati this year, he still knows how to ride in the wet.
And he's doing the job as a teammate for Hodgson,
That's exactly my point, I suppose, but I never quite got to it, did I, Jules?
Yes.
Thank heavens for you.
Anybody trying to get past Hodgson's got to get past Mackenzie first.
So then, out of Clearways now, we have Reynolds is the man to watch at the moment. Reynolds really is powering it on right now. Reynolds